What up, sexy world travelers? It's your boy, Big Sexy, here with a big thank you to our big, sexy world travelers. They're the folks who went over to bullwiththebutthole.com and subscribe to the podcast. I want to say a big shout out to Billy with cruisehabit.com, Lee Popsicle, Margaret White, Angel Quell, Bree, Chris Lowry, Dalen Diggs, Jesus, Joshua Tarr, Michael McKenna, Sebastian Robbins, and Smitty Scoop. If you would like to have your name read out before the show, just become a big, sexy world traveler and subscribe to the podcast. Swing on over to bullwiththebutthole.com and join the fun. Safe travels.
Oh, daddy, you big sexy world travelers. This is Judgmentalist. I am currently doing the impossible. We talk about being able to duplicate yourself. We talk about being able to be two places at once. I am currently doing exactly that. That's right. I am live streaming this podcast and another one at the same time. Here's our guy, Big Sexy, in the house. What is up?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope that it is good. What are you live streaming for two different podcasts at the moment? Is that what's happening?
No, so I have been doing these live streamed interviews for presenters at the upcoming 2025 Performing Hypnosis Summit. And the vast majority of them have been exactly that, live streamed. I am now getting into, and I've done many of these with folks that are, for lack of a better terms, legends in the industry. And sometimes the scheduling doesn't necessarily work to do them live. So we have the ability through the software that I'm using to pre-record something, but schedule the event, have it broadcast as if it's live. So if you are a follower of Judgmentalist or Between Two Minds, because technically that's the Between Two Minds behind the scene podcast, I kind of glommed it on to that because it already existed, and quite frankly did so to get more exposure and more traffic to that show within the hypnosis community. Mm-hmm. That interview that I actually recorded and did yesterday is presenting itself as if it's coming across live right now. And then of course this, if you're watching it live, which will be on any of the Big Sexy Digital Nomad channels, is actually live. I promise you.
Right now. We're live.
I'm actually here. This is, I'm going to touch my nose, and I did.
Yeah, this is definitely live. It is Thursday, December 19th at 1:06 p.m. Eastern time as of this recording. And look, I couldn't make that up on the spot. I mean, I suppose I could, but that involves me remembering what day and date and time it is. If I couldn't just look up and see that on my computer screen, I would fumble with that.
Of course, yeah.
So how you been? How things going? How's since we last recorded? How is everything going?
Good. Busy, always busy. There was a gap of time because of travel and holidays in which I wasn't doing those interviews, so it was good to get those ramped back up and going because that's a lot of fun, and I'm super looking forward to being back in Vegas for the Performing Hypnosis Summit. And I'll be there because you might know this, but I don't know that the podcast audience knows this. I did not make the short list for the judicial seat. So I am back to being my free agent self, which, as I mentioned last week, I think I probably would have talked about some of the things that kind of were wrenching in my stomach about it. Like, I'm the process starts, and then 11 days later, I get an invitation from the San Diego Fringe Fest that is inevitably, if I were to get the appointment, something that I would have to not do.
So you were
Additionally,
not meant to be judgmentalist at this time.
no, and one of the things that probably went against me in the process, and I don't know because they don't share this information with you, but my only assumption is going to be that there were certain elements of the process in which I was brutally honest. So, some of the bar associations or committees or whatnot would ask questions about different forms of the question of, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do it now? Et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't hold back on the fact that honestly, the timing for me is not great, but from a projection standpoint, I think I would do a fantastic job and would provide a lot to the local community by being on the bench. But I had a lot of stuff going on that really, this is an opportunity that I would more prefer to explore 3 or 4 years from now, not now, but here it is. And the next seat won't probably, unless something unfortunate happens to somebody, I don't anticipate another seat opening up for 10 years. And that's kind of where I stopped. But the full sentence is, and I plan to be retired from full-time practice of law 10 years from now. In fact, that number's more like 7 years from now, if not sooner, predicated on my youngest child.
I would say that is the exact reason why you did not become a judgmentalist. Any shadow of doubt of why this might not work out, they want people who are 100% bending the knee or on their knees, taking it like a champ for the seat to do that. And you were not doing either one of those things.
I got the strong impression from the short list when it was released that they were looking for good little obedient soldiers and certainly not free thinkers.
And you are not a good little obedient soldier. You are a free thinker, at least in the realm of that area.
For sure. Yeah. So, it is what it is. I learned a lot going through the process. And again, there were some of those reservations like, oh, I'm not going to be, if I get this, I'm not going to be able to do fringe festivals. I knew that going in, but there's a big difference between telling yourself that and then being invited to one that you're like, fuck, I might have to say no to this.
Right.
Secondly, I would not have probably been able to attend PHS, the Performing Hypnosis Summit, in person, not because I would have been on the bench, but because I would have been up to my ears transitioning my law practice so that I could take the bench and somebody could take it over. And a week in Vegas is not a priority when things like that are. Right. So I'm excited. And here's the thing. One thing that I realized, and maybe I didn't mention this last week when we were talking about this, but it was I had another realization in the very last interview where everything was super like, I don't know how to describe this properly, but like I did a lot of different interviews with a lot of different organizations, and it was I felt almost monotone going through the process.
Like you just felt like it's same questions.
Questions, kind of going through the motions, spitting out answers, blah, 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 blah. And then at the very end of the very last interview, somehow somebody said triggered me. We were talking about, the learning curve, because nobody does everything in the law well. So
Right.
everybody, whoever gets appointed these seats, is going to have a learning curve to be able to get up to speed on things that they didn't experience in their own practice. And that opened the door for me to be like, look, when I'm not practicing law, I am a stage hypnotist. And 2 years ago, I was not a stage hypnotist. And it was something that I wanted to do. So I found somebody, went to Las Vegas, spent a week with them, and learned how to do this. And now I travel all four corners of the country, places in between. I produce my own shows. I put on these shows in theaters large and small. And it's the kind of approach that for anything that I have a deficiency in, I'm going to be able to get up to speed and do it. And I realized when I was driving home from that interview, I was like, there was only 3 minutes of passion about anything that I spoke about in any of these interviews. And they weren't about being a judge.
It was about the hypnosis.
They were about being a hypnotist.
Well, you're passionate about that. That makes more
course.
sense. There's emphasis on the mentalist and not on the judge.
And here's the thing, like it and I knew, because we, and when I say we, I mean my family and I, my wife and extended members of the family, had extensive conversations about the pros and cons. And we were very, very well aware that there would be trade-offs if I were to be appointed. And some of them more important than others. I certainly wouldn't be, let me just list the things. I wouldn't be doing San Diego Fringe Fest. I probably wouldn't be doing PHS. I certainly wouldn't be doing PHS in 2026. I wouldn't be doing the Michigan Hypnosis Conference, which was just, like, I'm still like so new in this that there's still so much for me to open up and so much for me to continue to learn about, not just in the performance side, but more of an understanding on the clinical side of things. Between that last weekend or next to the last weekend in September and now, that Michigan Hypnosis Conference, which was a blend of both performance and clinical folks, has opened up the ability for me. I have referred probably somewhere between 10 and 12 people to various hypnotists with various specialties from that group that I wouldn't have been able, I'm not going to be able to do that kind of stuff. And if just one of those 12 people engages with and changes their life because of that, and it's completely possible for 100% of them, but we know that follow through is a bitch and people don't always do what they need to do, and they don't prioritize it. They don't take it seriously or whatnot. But if just one of those people
follow through,
one of those people, one of those people's on this podcast right now. Like you were among those people that I was like, oh, I've got a guy that can help you with that. It's not something that my expertise is within, but it's about building a network of people that are the tools to be able to help the people that you run into. And at the same time, you're helping other people build their businesses and their practices, which is cool too. But more so, the good that I can do in the world is probably substantially greater out here than in there. So I don't think I would have been upset about it. There would have been things I would have been, missing had I gotten it. But, I think I wouldn't call it a bullet dodged, but I think it's for the better.
Yeah, I mean, worked out. I'm a firm believer, and people have heard me say this, that the universe provides where you should be, maybe, and that might not be where you want to be. Right. I mean, if everything went to plan the way we plan it, this would be we'd be having this conversation and I'd be in Portugal. Right. But things change and things happen. And I wouldn't be in Playa del Carmen having the most amazing experiences of my life. I mean, entering into Toastmaster contests and winning them and moving forward. I wouldn't be running an improv in Mexico and looking forward to doing improv shows in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Like that wouldn't be a part of it. I wouldn't have been doing improv shows in Spain. I wouldn't experience the wonders of Malaga, Spain, and well, I would have experienced some of the experiences because we would have been there for a brief moment. But you know, being there for a longer period of time, I wouldn't have had the amazing friendships that I have. Like my dear friend Raluca, who's a dear friend now. I met because I went to Romania. I would have never gone to Romania if things went the way we say initially we want them to go.
Right.
Right. And so and the best thing we can do is roll with the punches, you know. I and go forward. And now you understand, and now you know the process. And I think one thing that this thing really helped you with, and from my viewpoint, is it does make you take a look at where you are in life.
Yeah, for sure.
And what you're doing and what you really want your future to look like. Right. It presents that opportunity like, hey, do you really want this? Well, let me shoot my shot. Let me go for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that. Speaking of shooting shots and hypnotists helping me out and all that other stuff, I am almost positive I also did not make the shortcut for the Hamilton role on Broadway. I think by now I would have heard something about a callback.
Right.
If I had made that short list, and I have not heard anything. And I've been saying I'm either going to hear information about a callback or I will hear nothing.
Right.
And it has been radio silence. And that was back, I mean, I submitted back in September. Right. So
yeah,
it's most likely that I did not make the shortcut, which I'm fine with, which I was okay with anyhow. In the same situation, you start looking at what your future would have been had you gotten that, and you're like, oh man, I would have missed out on this, I would have missed out on that. Well, I'm looking like, oh well, shit, I would have had to either move to New York or wherever the tour is rehearsing, and there's a huge part of me that does not want to live in New York.
Yeah, it's a little cold in New York right now. I don't
like the cold. I don't want to. It's what stopped me from going there right out of college. You know, when I had the opportunity to go, and I was like, oh, do I want to go to New York? Do I want to do LA? Do I want to, move over to Vegas? And do I want to stay in the Inland Empire? And believe me, I looked at New York and I started checking New York, and then I did the quick search of what's the lowest temperature New York gets to in a year.
Oh.
And then the question was, how long does it stay that way? and the answer just came back. The fact that there was an answer was like, no, I don't. Nope, that's not big sexy. That's not where my mind lives.
Imagine this is a joke that I've told numerous times over the years. You know how people have those like, they're not all necessarily calorie counting apps, but like, like MyFitnessPal or whatever, where you can look up different food and you can log what you're eating and everything. Right. And the running joke, the running joke I would tell people all the time with apps like that is, oh yeah, you ever tried to type in Olive Garden? Because it's immediately going to crash the app. Like, it's kind of one of those things where no. The response to your query is just nope. You don't. You're asking. You don't want to know the answer.
You don't want to.
Goodbye. Move on.
You don't really want to. The words below freezing should never be in my vocabulary, or at least in my vocabulary, but never a part of my life.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that. I much prefer like the dichotomy that you and I currently share. Viewers, if you're watching, if you saw the last episode, you know that I was recording in a tank top, and Judge Mentalist started recording in a jacket.
Yep.
He was layered, and I was hot. And I thought about putting on a t-shirt, and I was on, you know what? I'm just going to do this in my tank top. I'm comfortable. It's nice. I got a little breeze blowing on me. A little fan going on right now because it's hot. I turned the fan off to see how it would be without the fan on and the sound. I went, you know what? I'll take the background noise because otherwise I'm going to start sweating up in here. And it's December.
Yeah.
I live that kind of lifestyle. That's where I live. So man, change is inevitable, and reflection upon going for things that we want to go for, I think, is beneficial. Right.
Yeah,
I'm
for
glad.
sure.
I'm so glad that you went to be a judge. Like, you didn't pass up the opportunity. Right. And the same way I'm glad that I didn't pass up the opportunity to audition for Broadway. I mean, how many actors get to say they got a chance to audition for Broadway?
Right.
At least I got a chance to audition, whether I get it or not. I'm proud that I did submit the audition. And believe me, I was hemming and hawing about it. I wasn't sure. And a part of that was the fear of success, the fear of, oh God, if I get it, then what does that mean for my life? Maybe I shouldn't even go for it. And then I'm like, no, let me go for it. And then if I'm supposed to get it, then I'll get it.
It's certainly not something on my radar. I couldn't hold a tune if you duct taped the shit to my hands.
Right, exactly. So that shows, and then I look at where my life is now, and I'm happy that I don't have to change it. I mean, change, like I said, changing the level, but I'm happy with my trajectory. I get to compete. Like right now, the biggest thing in my brain is this Toastmasters competition that I've somehow entered into.
Yeah.
The next competition I know is sometime in February, date to be announced, location to be determined, but people say you're probably going to have to travel for it, and I'm down for that. Give me a reason to go someplace else.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm looking forward to competing against the best of all the other Toastmasters in the area, and competing against them. So I'm honing my skills. I've been giving speaking gigs. Like, I just finished PDCS, which is a charity event here. I just finished speaking there. And let me tell you about learning something about yourself. I was given 40 minutes to speak. Now, previously, my 2 speeches for Toastmasters had been 5 to 7 minutes each. And I was nailing the 5 to 7 minutes, and I was working on not going over, but my fear was I'd go over like a few minutes or whatever. So I had to tone those down. Then I was given 40 minutes, and I had the exact opposite anxious reaction. Like, fuck, how am I going to fill 40 minutes? What am I going to talk about for 40 minutes? Then I was reminded that I do a fucking podcast once a week where I talk for about an hour. Right. And now, granted, I have a co-host and we banter back and forth, but I could fill a lot of this with what's going on in stories of my life and things of that nature. And I have lived an interesting and varied life. The subject was empowerment. If you're a Patreon member and you go over to bullwiththebutthole.com and subscribe to the podcast, you'll get to see some video from that speech that I did for the PDCS. I have to go in and edit it because the sound quality was terrible. Yeah, one camera way in the back of a wide open space in the room. There were fans going, background noise. It's at a restaurant, and all that got caught up on the audio. So I got to go in and fix it and see if I can fix it and adjust with my mediocre editing skills. I may have to call on some friends of mine who are in video editing. Shout out to Alexa, the editor. She's my favorite editor of all time. And help me with that process. However, I was easily able to fill the 40 minutes. And, I combined the story of the origin of my name and my workshop about the power of being silly.
Cool.
Right. And I didn't realize it at the time. And as I was giving the speech, it's really interesting to learn shit in the moment and realize that you've been practicing what you preach this entire time, but not actively doing it. You've just been living that life, and it's just a part of you. Yeah. When I was talking about the origin of my name, and I always say, I don't live my life based on other people's reaction to it. Right. Otherwise, I would have never named myself Big Sexy. Like, I wouldn't go through life with the name Big Sexy because other people react, and some people react negatively to it. But I don't care about that. I'm not worried about that, right? And that is empowering to me, right? I have that power. I hold that power. and I don't waver from it. You know, when people meet me, the name's Big Sexy. You can hem, haw, whatever. Bam, it's in your face. Now you got to deal with it. You got to make that decision. I don't got to deal with it. That's right. And then I'm holding power over that. And some people love it, some people don't. And I'm not living my life based off that, right? So I'm giving the speech about that. And I'm going, oh shit. Yeah, when I decided to name myself Big Sexy, I took that power, you know, and I made that mine and I owned it and I lived it and I decided that was going to be my power. And then I started talking about the power of being silly. And we all know I'm silly to the core. I do silly shit all the time. And I'm a silly motherfucker. That's just the way it is. And it's gotten me through life wonderfully. You know, bad shit happens and I don't grieve long. Right. I'm also one of the type of people who's quick to make a joke about something. Maybe too too quick according to some people, but I'm not worried about it because that's, you know, that's where my brain lives. My brain lives in that silliness, fun world. I'd rather laugh than cry.
Of course.
Right. And so doing that speech really brought that to light and highlight. And then I realized, oh shit, I could give a fucking TED talk on power within the name and power of being silly. Like, and I said that, and I went, you know what? I need to start looking up more speaking gigs and get paid to give this speech.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so stay tuned, listeners. Your boy might be doing professional speaking gigs here and there because I fucking love it. I love it. I mean, you always heard me say I am at home on stage. I am at home on stage. Judge, have you ever got a chance to see me perform?
No,
I don't think so. Not yet, right?
No. The only time is so even that very, very first, to me, Scoop Fest, which was that same weekend as the NFL draft, which is what brought me to Vegas. I was there for such a little amount of time that I didn't even see you hosting karaoke then, not to mention actually performing on stage. And I believe that the only time that you and I have been in the same place at the same time where one of us was on stage was the Secret Circus that I was doing, my stuff for. I don't think that we've done the other way around.
Right. Yeah. So that, I mean, that's it. Kanye West said this, and while I don't agree with a lot of things he says, I do understand this thought, is that one thing that bums me out is I will never get a chance to experience me.
Yeah.
Right. I will never get a chance to be in the audience while I'm performing and experience what that's like. Right.
He should call me. I can make that happen for him.
Right. I mean, to be fair, I kind of have, because I have been hypnotized, and I've seen video of me performing, so I got a chance to witness me performing via.
But I can make him through hypnosis. I can guide him on effectively an out-of-body experience where he is in fact in the audience watching himself perform whatever he wants to be performing.
I like that. Yes. Well, you should do that for me.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. I look forward to the day when you hypnotize me. When
we gotta set something up. We got to do it.
Where we talk about performance, and then we don't do it separately. We do it together. Yeah, you're the hypnotist, and I'm the hypnosy, hypnotized. Hypnotizing. The hypnosis side.
There are a lot of people in the world over time who have used a lot of different terms to describe the volunteer, the cooperator, the subject. These are all words that have been used. I don't like the word subject. I was taught to not like the word subject because it seems very like puppet mastery. I was taught and quote brought up using the word volunteer. I like the concept of cooperator because you've got an operator and a co-operator, and
I like that as well.
And that I think is a very
co-operator,
accurate description.
Co-operator. Fuck, now I gotta write that song. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, let me jot down the note. So
listeners, I figured out one last nail in the coffin for me to not get this judgeship, and it's because I'm a criminal.
Yeah. What did you do
recently? And this is a stretch, but I'm going to go with it. Recently, I exchanged care packages with a friend of ours over in Scotland. And in shopping and researching, and my wife had a hand in this as well, we were interested in making sure that we were sending Brogan things that Brogan could not get in the UK.
So that's Brogan with
hey buddy, nice podcast.
Yeah.
That Brogan. Okay.
That Brogan. And we need to make sure that they're bringing that back if we're going to keep using that drop. I'm assuming they're on a
they're on the hiatus, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I just got tangent. I just got a Patreon notification that they
just bonus episode,
bonus episode of bonus content, right? But
hopefully,
but spelled bunnis, which was correct me. And I don't know if that was on purpose. With those two, I don't know if that was on purpose or not. It might just be a typo, but it could be an honest thing. And I'm not.
Like it could be an inside joke, yeah.
Right, and I haven't paid for their Patreon yet. I'm planning to subscribe in the new year. I'm subscribed and they're not doing the podcast because that's how I roll. And I need to listen to it because I need to know if bunnis was on purpose or if it's a for real typo.
Right. Yeah, so we learned that there's a lot of things, and I don't think that we really broke the law per se, but it is illegal to sell in the UK a lot of stuff that's just very commonplace here in the States because it's poison. I sent Brogan a box full of poison specifically. And it's funny because as we learned this and it was so important to us and we knew that Brogan would be completely cool with this. And in communicating after the package arrived, I learned that we were exactly right. It was look at the ingredients on the back. Does it contain red 40? If so, we can buy it. If not, then there are a few other things that are on the list that are outlawed to be retailed in the UK. So we weren't retailing these in the UK. These were just a gift. So probably not like super illegal. You know, I'm sure Interpol's not looking for me right now. If so, they'll be confused because I'm two different places at once. Actually, that stream ended probably about 10 minutes ago because those interviews are usually pretty short. Like
now they can't find you. Now they'll be scrambling again for a little bit until they
wait. Where's this guy? He's wearing two different shirts. He's sitting in the same room. He's talking to two different people. What? This guy is a wizard.
He's a wizard. Yeah. And maybe the deep judge, he's mailing shit to. We don't want a judge who's mailing shit to Scotland. I mean, first off, he's in contact with people from Scotland, and that's just shady to begin
with. Yeah.
So, and then they're going to find out who you're talking to over in Scotland, and that's going to make it worse.
Right, because then that opens the door to the rest of my life of
shady.
Although through this, they're open to many of those same people. So.
Speaking of the people we're open to, I want my segues are on point today. Our podcast daddy, one and a half of our podcast daddy, Matt Donnelly, and I got a chance to actually meet in person, physically in Cozumel a couple weeks ago on Wednesday, and he came over. As we know, he's part of the Magic Castle. Show something.
Spellbound.
Showcase. Spellbound. Thank you. the Spellbound Special Magic package with Princess Cruise Lines, and they ported in Cozumel. So I got a chance to go over and hang out with him and John Acadero, and we went to
Accardo.
lunch. Accardo, not Acadero. Okay, Accardo.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. I'm not reading your name. I'm trying to say it by memory, and I'm only trying to say it by memory by what I kind of remember on Instagram that your name was there. Accardo, right?
If Matt's saying it right,
yeah,
because I'm parroting what Matt has said numerous times.
Perfect. I love that
I don't personally know John, so he could.
Well, now I can say that I can say that I personally know John. I'm getting the John right. I got the John on lock.
And when I say I don't know him, the relevance of it is, there are some folks out there that will let you mispronounce their name and not correct you.
Yes.
And then there are other people who will. And I don't know if
John's one of the kind of person is, but I'm pretty sure I want to be sure it's right. So I'm gonna say John Accardo, because if you're parodying the way Matt says it, yeah. I'm trying to remember the way I read it, and I don't always trust my memory when it comes to that. My brain has the ACC down. That's the first part, and then I remember there's a D and an O, and I think there's an A and an R, and so my brain is arranging those letters in whatever fashion it's thinking of. But anyway, I did hang out with Matt and John, and we went to a wonderful restaurant. First day I met them, they were at another restaurant right across from the port, and they had some nachos with guacamole that they didn't seem to be enjoying. And it was interesting because I was messaging, and then so I was messaging Matt, and I know he doesn't have the greatest service, and I don't know what works for him, but we're talking on WhatsApp for a minute, and then it was radio silence, and then I got a message from John's phone, Matt on John's phone, and they told me kind of the generalized area where they were.
Yeah, because I would imagine that Matt has to be, he's not buying an eSIM to connect. He's just connecting to Wi-Fi when he can connect to Wi-Fi and going from there. I think that John is probably a little more internationally traveled and probably has eSIMs. An assumption.
Which makes sense. So it worked out, and so let me backtrack. So first, we looked at the weather forecast, and it was going to be raining. And I was talking to Matt. This was on Instagram, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to come over to. It's raining, so we're probably going to look at maybe taking the ferry over to Playa, and just hang out in Playa." And then I got to talking, and that kind of plan. I'm like, fine, I can get on the ferry, which is cool. I want to go back over to Cozumel, take a look around. It's a much more chance for me to explore more of Cozumel than when I did it when our friends over at
cruisehabit.com, bitches,
came over and visited us at Cozumel. So I got to see more of Cozumel at that point in time. I'm happy to do so. So I take the ferry across, and I'm familiar with the ferry port on that side of the island, and I start walking, and I know that there is I've walked as far as the Soriana, the Mega Soriana that is on Cozumel, and which is a big grocery store, kind of like a Walmart. It's their version of Walmart, if you will. And I go to a cab, and I'm like, how much to go to the Mega Soriana? And they're like $10. And I was like, fuck that. I can walk the 20 minutes. I don't need to give you $10 for a 3-minute car ride. Yeah. So I walk to the Soriana, and then I realized I don't know where the Princess Port is, and I haven't reached it yet. So I start walking a little bit further, and then I remember that our friends Billy and Larissa took a cab from the Mega Soriana to the port, and they were okay with grabbing a cab from there. Let me see how long of a walk that is. And so I pulled it up, and from the Mega Soriana, which was about a 15-minute walk from the ferry port, it was another 43-minute walk to get to the Princess. So I was like, oh nope, let me find a cab. I gotta find a cab. I'm okay. I'm okay now with the 200 pesos that it will cost to get on over to the Princess Port. So I hop in a cab. And I get to the port, and so the only information I have is we're next to this, the name of the store, and I don't remember the name of the store. It's like Diablo or some shit. I don't remember, but it just says we're next to. So I get to the port, I get out the cab, I find the store they're next to, but I don't know what they mean by next to, because next to describes 4 potential directions.
Right.
So I message and I'm not getting a response. And I message and I'm not getting a response. So I call and I'm not getting a response. And now I'm like, well, fuck it. I guess I'm going to explore now this area and see if I can find where they're next to. So I noticed that the store they mentioned has a little alleyway, and apparently there's a restaurant in the back. And I'm like, okay, let me go down this alleyway to the restaurant, and there they are. I'm all good. I didn't have to do a whole lot of searching to find you. And so we get together, we meet up, and I can tell they are not enjoying this plate of nachos and guacamole that they have, and they're looking to go someplace else. So they're like, do you have any suggestions? This is my second time in Cozumel. I don't fucking know what's here at all, and so let's walk and find something. So we walk, and occasionally, I'll give it up. Occasionally, having a beautiful woman ask you if you want to eat at a restaurant that they're on the street hawking people works. Because we passed by this restaurant just past the Hard Rock, and this gorgeous woman, I remember she was wearing a golden green, I think it was a green top and gold pants, and she was like, hey, you want to come eat at this restaurant? And, the knee jerk is like, no, thank you. We'll continue. We walked a little bit past.
Well, you're Vegas seasoned.
Yeah. And Playa del Carmen season. Like that happens up and down 5th Street here all the time. I'm very much seasoned. Like I'm almost anti-hawk, right? Yeah. If you come at me on the street, I don't pay attention, but I didn't notice her. She's a very beautiful woman. I went, oh, maybe. Let's check that out. And so we get a little bit further, and we all kind of stop. We look ahead. We don't see any restaurants coming up. We look back, and she's still smiling or whatever. And Matt's like, we want to go back and check out the place she was talking about. And I was like, yeah, let's go back and check out the place she was talking about. So we kind of all mosey back over, and we go into her restaurant. It's a little restaurant right off the street, set back. It was really quaint, really nice. They ordered tacos. I got chicken wings, barbecue chicken wings. The barbecue sauce was okay, wasn't great, right? But chicken wings are chicken wings, so I was able to eat them, and there was a lot. There was a nice, good serving. They apparently liked their tacos, and we sat down and had a wonderful conversation. Talked about stuff and performance, and I got to know John. And I love when because Matt knows John, Matt knows me. Me and John don't know each other. So me and Matt have a history. John and Matt have a history. And then we start sharing histories, and then they start sharing histories. And there's very little overlap. But the conversation, builds. And I'm learning about magic and their performance. And Matt started talking about the good shows and the bad shows that he's been involved in. And John starts sharing his stories. And I'm talking about the shows I'm about to put on in Playa and my experience there. So it was really great to sit down and chat and talk and get to know and learn and, share podcast stories and ICS stories, because we do all have ICS in common, right, because of Matt. And so that was a really, really good time. And it felt great to reconnect to Vegas in a way.
Yeah.
Right, and have that, like when Billy and Larissa came out, that was my first connection back to the U.S. since I'd been in Mexico, in the reverse order. I've been meeting a lot of Americans who've gone back to the U.S., so there's some kind of connection. By the way, speaking of which, I have met quite a few people from Maryland.
Really?
Yeah, so if your ears have been burning, it's because I almost weekly have been saying, oh, interesting. My co-host is from Elkton. And I'm like, oh, Elkton, kind of know where Elkton is. Yeah. But I mean people from Baltimore and other parts of Maryland. I will not pretend to know the other parts of Maryland that they have told me they're from, because if it's not Baltimore or Elkton, it does not stay in my head. Even though
Maryland has such an odd shape that, like, I don't even know that I fully understand it all the time.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah.
I know where the parts that are occasionally relevant to me are and how they connect to each other and interconnect to each other. But, there are still some parts to this state that I don't have any connection to whatsoever and could vaguely describe the geography to get there.
Yeah, I have zero, mental visuality of Maryland's layout. Right. Even though we did an entire episode about it looking like a cock gun. Right.
Yeah.
I kind of have that in the brain, but where in things are in terms
of CAUK for those of you
Okay.
listening at home.
Maybe I mean cock gun. Maybe I mean a gun from your cock. Either way, because a cock gun also looks like cock and balls. I'm just saying, it does.
There have been folks who have described the Chesapeake Bay as kind of the vagina that's in the middle, so we could get real sexual with the description.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It is possible to get sexual with the description, but I mean, truly, that can be said about everything.
Yeah,
and
sure
often,
can.
and
Sure
often is. So I appreciated the time spent. So thank you to Matt Donnelly for hanging out with me on in Cozumel, and shout out to John Cardo. Shout out to John Ricardo, who also spent time. We do appreciate you all very much, and I am honored and thrilled to have those kind of friends and meet those kind of people. And it makes the world bigger and also more connected. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So, question for you:
Yes,
whether it's in Playa or Cozumel, and I would imagine for sure in Playa you've seen enough. Maybe not in Cozumel with 2 trips. Do you see people surfing?
I have not seen anybody surfing. The waves haven't been surfing-esque yet, and I haven't gone to where surfers go. They don't go where we have been. Right. There's some I've seen some jet ski action, and I've seen some boogie boarding action, but like where we are, there's a lot of snorkeling and that type of environment. So not a lot of surf riding. And then on the port side of Cozumel, there's not a lot of surfers either. I think the surf happens on the other side of the island, and I have not gone to that side of the island yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I want to surf. I haven't surfed in a couple of years. I really enjoyed doing it.
I would have never known you surfed.
It's an amazing workout. I mean, you will be dead after surfing for, a couple hours.
And you definitely mean the universal you there, not the me you there, because I will not be surfing.
Well, but if you would, you'd be completely exhausted afterwards. I almost guarantee you, because it is a full body workout. And I actually reached out to, so I think I mentioned that we ended up canceling the Elkton Magic cruise. And
you mentioned you were thinking about it, and it was going to happen the next day or two. So I'm assuming
okay, so that is officially canceled. And with it, we ended up canceling our booking as well because of the reasons that we talked about last week, and it not really being conducive to taking our kids with that particular setup at their current ages and their current interests. But, we're not done by any means with cruising, but I would really like, one of the things that we noticed was that there were ports that we could give 2 shits about that were on that itinerary.
Okay.
So I think that for the most part, at least on that jaunt, we're done cruising out of Baltimore, as convenient as it is as a port. So I reached out with to our friends at gowithlisa.com. We're like, I want to surf. I would like to know cruise ports that, and it doesn't have to be an official excursion. Like, I can do the homework, or I can have you help me with some of the legwork down there to be like, okay, if you're coming to Cozumel, for example,
right,
hop on a cab and go to X and then do it. because I think that I want to say that the only times that I've surfed have been in Hawaii. And I've done it numerous times, but it just I want to do it more. And the Caribbean is like the Eastern Caribbean, the places that I've been on most of the cruises that I've been to, and some of the all-inclusives are really like a warm bath. There's no water movement whatsoever. They serve a great purpose, but surfing is not on that list.
Right.
And I'm interested in whether or not, that region in that area, because what my wife really wants to do is she wants to go back to Mexico, but she doesn't want to cruise. She wants to do an all-inclusive, which sign me the fuck up. Let's go.
There's some good spots in Cozumel. There's some great spots in Playa del Carmen, which I highly recommend. You should come out and check that out, of course. Of course, I'm going to recommend that. And if you like, there's enough surfing people here that I can get that information for you, like where are the best places around here to surf.
Yeah.
And provide that for you. I love that. How is it 2 years in, over 2 years in, I'm still learning things about you? And
I got a lot going on over here, bro.
There's still more. I love that, surfing judgments. I'm happy that that's a thing. I'm very happy that that's a thing.
Oh, it's so much fun. It is exhausting, but it is so much fun. Aloha Paddle Club. AlohaPaddleClub.com/surfing Playa Carmen.
Oh, there you go.
They've got rentals, lessons, board delivery. This is what I'm looking for.
All right. And if you still want to do a cruise, there is, of course, the cruise with the Nilla's 50th birthday cruise, leaving out of Miami, or Orlando rather, going to the Eastern Caribbean and St. Thomas as well. So if you're still looking to cruise next year, and again, listeners, you are invited to go on this cruise and celebrate with us. You can simply go to gowithlisa.com/big sexy. And from there, you can book the cruise and be on the same cruise as us. This is in March 22nd through, I think, March 30th or April 1st, somewhere in there as well. It's celebrating my wife's 50th birthday. Shout out to Lila and happy early birthday, my love. So we're going to definitely go experience that. We love cruising, and it's on Princess.
What are the days again?
March 22nd through, it's an 8-day cruise. March 22nd is an 8-day cruise.
I'm just checking because I have a currently on the schedule a trial in mid-March, but that is a couple of weeks before that cruise. Okay, so it's definitely still possible. And I did a quick Google search of surfing St. Thomas, and apparently Hull Bay, Salt Pond, and Water Island are surfing destinations.
Now, if you come on this cruise with us and I get opportunity to get video of you surfing, listeners, you definitely need to sign up for the Patreon at that point in time. You definitely need to go to bullwiththebutthole.com and sign up for our Patreon.
Do you have any idea, and I know that the answer to this question is probably no at this point, it's too early. Do you have any idea how long you'll be at the port in St. Thomas and what time?
No.
Okay.
No, I have no idea.
Work assignment of, is this on that box that I can come back to? You're not going to get the answer to that question until you're fucking there, because I know that stuff is so fluid and changes.
Right.
And
now the when we get to the port might already be on that site, right? When we get there, like the itinerary is already up in existence.
Projected.
Right. The projected itinerary is already there. The time frame, usually you get there in the morning and to reboard the ship is around 5 or 6 p.m. So you kind of have that kind of day frame to go and get where. And there might be surfing excursions. There might be an excursion that takes you to those surfing areas, which we can 100% look up and check out and go forward. And, listeners, if you do go over to bullwiththebutthole.com and sign up for as a subscriber.
Oh,
for
you're
the
doing San Juan, Puerto Rico in here too. Wait a minute. I'm not seeing. It's San Juan, not St. Thomas.
No, we're definitely doing St. Thomas. It's part of the way they said it. They said it Eastern Caribbean and St. Thomas. Like the only thing I know for sure is St. Thomas, unless they've changed the itinerary.
I'm only looking at what is listed here on the gowithlisa.com/big sexy. It's March 30. It's out of Fort Lauderdale. You said Orlando.
I did. I have not gone to the website to see what they got.
I want to double check these because they
might not have the right cruise.
They might not, because you're telling me it stretches into April. This says March 23rd through the 31st, which is eight days.
The 31st, and that's when it is. It's
Fort Lauderdale, Princess Key, which is the one that I was just at, that one on the Carnival ship. Grand Turk. If you want to go snorkeling and you see Grand Turk on an itinerary, if you already have a mask and snorkel, you don't need to spend any money. There is great snorkeling, a reef right off the port. You are good to go in Grand Turk. Don't spend a dime. Now, if you got to rent gear, okay, fine, but you're going to be able to get the snorkeling gear for like $20 for the day, or for a period of time that is more than you'll be able to stand doing it. Amber Cove in the DR, which is great. These are ports. Some of these ports are ones that were on that very, very first cruise that we did, which was that one was out of Orlando. Amber Cove is where we went and went to Monkey Land. Or these little, I don't think they were capuchin monkeys, but they were that similar kind of size of what we think of when we think of capuchin monkeys, climbing all over us.
Don't get too caught up on that itinerary. They do apparently have the wrong one. I just pulled up the link. I just sent you the link in Facebook Messenger of the cruise that we're doing. It's the 8-day Eastern Caribbean with St. Thomas, round trip from Port Canaveral, which is out of Orlando.
Yeah, let them know ASAP that they've got the wrong one on the website, because that would have been some shit for me to be like, oh, I can go on this and then go book it. We're all different cruises.
So we are going Port Canaveral, to Grand Turk, to San Juan,
St. Thomas, St. Martin,
St. Thomas.
Oh, some of the same good ones, yeah.
Oh, 8 days, 4 ports: Grand Turk, San Juan, St. Martin, and St. Thomas.
I want to do this one. Oh, look. The question that I told you couldn't answer is sitting right here in front of me. Arrive at 8 a.m., depart at 6 p.m.
Oh, there you go.
That is perfect.
Like I told you, other times they already have it set up.
I mean, obviously it's all subject to change. Now I'm going to go view excursions and see if they have any specific surfing within the excursions. I don't need to see this. Don't do that to me.
So listeners, if you I'm going to message them right now. I'm going to make sure they have I'm going to type in the gowithlisa.com/big sexy and make sure they have the right cruise. Fort Lauderdale, Princess K. No, this is the wrong cruise.
Yeah.
So let me message them now. Hold on, listeners. This is a great live podcasting. By the way, we're doing this in live term because I don't want this to go.
But we're live, so we're not really cutting it. Although we are kind of getting near the window here.
The end point. Yeah. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Brooke Sifrin, who is co-host of the Even the Rich podcast, who I mentioned last episode on our Wrapped episode, got unceremoniously bumped from my top 5, where they usually have a solid spot in, by the fact that Eminem dropped a new album. So Brooke, I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's always next year.
Yeah, you will be back up there. in my 2025 Spotify Wrapped, because I definitely still listen all the time, man. And I love you to death, and I miss you so much, and I can't wait till we see each other again. Yes. But she's over in the Instagram feed. So I saw her and I want to send a shout out and say hello. But let me send this the cruise on the link is the wrong cruise. Okay. And then Chris will message me back and I'll clear it up for it. Or I'll just send him the link that I have for the actual cruise that we're doing.
Right.
So yeah, so listeners, that's what's coming up. Cruise in March. I'll be doing an improv show in Playa del Carmen either in February or March. I've started those workshops now. I have my very first professional workshop here where people were able to donate because I cannot officially work in Mexico, so I'm not officially working in Mexico, but people are able to donate to the cause and to help secure a location for the show next year. So that's exciting as well. And yeah, you got anything big coming up? You got any holiday plans? What's your holiday? Because by the time this drops, this will drop on Christmas.
Yeah.
This is our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Whoops. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
For those of you who partake. No, nothing special. Just staying low. Not even any big plans for the new year. Just gearing up, and now I've got this thing on my radar, and I kind of want to try to do this shit. The question is, can I talk my wife into it, or am I going solo?
Well, I mean, let her know that it's a cruise and it's our cruise, and we're gonna be hanging out, and we haven't had a chance to really like hang out,
right?
Us, and so we need that opportunity to do that. And trust me, you want to be on a cruise when I'm on a cruise. If you can be on a cruise where I'm on part of that cruise, you're gonna have the best, amazing time. Usually,
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a bad time when I'm on a cruise. They're just, we've learned some lessons, but we're new cruisers. So that's what you do. You learn about things that you would do differently. This is porting from a warm place. It's going to great places. I'm sure that I can get myself into some surf mode here on some of these, because I know that people go to Puerto Rico to surf. San Martin. I went to undergrad with a guy who was from San Martin.
What was the island that our pod daddy Matt Donnelly was on? Was it St. Thomas?
I think that might have been St. Thomas. I don't know for sure.
I'm gonna have to ask him if he was on St. Thomas, and then if he can give me some recommendations.
Now I gotta see, where does this week line up with other parts of my schedule that are relevant. For anybody who is curious, I am strongly considering making this happen. So you should look into it. It would be kick ass. March 23rd. Oh, that is a favorable week within my child rotation schedule. The stars may be aligning here. There may be a reason that the other one got canceled.
To open up the possibility for you to come on this cruise.
Doing two that quickly back to back were not going to be a great thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you finalize and you're definitely coming, that means I'm 100. I was already going to bring some of my equipment, but that means 100% I'm bringing all of my equipment. Like all that's going to pack and come with it. We're definitely going to do a live celebration, Nella's 50th birthday celebration podcast episode from the Princess Cruise line.
Yeah, I'll have to bring some of my travel microphones that can hook into your pod track because there's 4 slots for it. Oh,
we got options.
The wheels are spinning. The wheels are spinning.
Indeed. Yeah. The next listeners, and if you could, please go over to subscribe to the podcast.
I want to know how to do it.
Subscribers we have, the more finances we have, that we can expand our studio equipment. The next purchase is going to be a camera. I want to get a secondary. I think we might have a camera. And once I get back to the US, I think my mom has a camera she's no longer using, that I'm going to look to see if I can also plug in and make that as a second camera for the podcast, because I just had an interview yesterday. I interviewed, shout out to Frank and Tosh, who sat down with me in a cafe here in Playa del Carmen to talk about, they have a company they're starting called Grow Thrive Abroad. And we had an interview session. I realized I had the two mics and that worked just fine, but I only had the one camera. Now, luckily, Tosh used her phone and was recording from her phone. And I asked her for the video, and I'm going to send that to our dear friend Alexa and hire her to put that video together and that interview together. So stay tuned for that. But I went, if I had a camera, I can use my laptop camera and a secondary camera to capture the footage and the image and then piece that all together as well. So that's going to be the next purchase. And then subscribers help make that a reality. Right. And so please tell your friends, share the information about us. We got some big things coming up. I know we're in the end, and I always try, for some reason, I always think of all this kind of cool next thing happening at the end of the podcast. That's why you want to stay and listen to the whole thing. Next year, I'm starting an educational series for Big Sexy Digital Nomad. And it is going to be specifically about the processes of becoming a digital nomad, all the different things that you have to do, and the different areas in that field. As I have been meeting professionals and people who've done this and experts in different areas of this, I want to sit down and interview them with specifically education in mind. Right now, the regular episodes is me and Judgmentalists chatting about whatever the fuck's going on in our life. And then we have the bonus episodes where we're interviewing people who are out and about in the world and traveling and their stories. And then I want to introduce a third component, because apparently I don't have enough to do with everything that I'm doing, an educational series where I'm interviewing people specifically about the educational topics within traveling and becoming a digital nomad. So listeners, if you have questions about that, if you have those kind of questions, you want to know like specifics on how things are done, whether it be Europe, Mexico, wherever in the world you want to know, I know enough people now, I can reach out and talk to them about those specific questions. Send us an email at bigsexynomad@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we can make that happen. I'm going to start doing those interviews and everything next week. Not next week, next year. But I might start some of the interviewing next week. I'm setting that up for a launch of next year. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if I'm going to have a funky name for it, or if it's just going to be the BSD and learn some shit. I don't know. We'll figure out some kind of cool name. If you have any ideas for a name for the educational series, go ahead and shoot us an email over at bigsexynomad@gmail.com. We'd appreciate that. All right, and as always, if you want to get some Big Sexy Digital Nomad merch, swing on over to Where Is Big Sexy. That's WEAR, like you're putting on clothes, isbigsexy.com. And grab
and also, and I know we're like super over time. I just messaged Chris. He's sending me quotes.
Awesome.
I'm working on it.
Sweet. So this may happen. So by who knows, by next episode, we may have some finalized concrete information happening. But we appreciate y'all. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, shout out to everybody who joined us in the live feed. We appreciate y'all. Never hesitate to reach out to us. We hope you had a good time. And in the meantime,
safe travels.
I know we said we're over time, but I mean, we don't have an official time. We have to stop.
We've been targeting that thing. Now I got to go downstairs and tell my wife, listen, you're not going to like this, but this is what I want for my birthday.
All right, y'all. Bye.
See ya.